Jai Ho, my dear students. I am Ratnakar Suramshi from SK Public School. In the last class, we have learnt about the reign of terror, right? Obviously, you know that the period of 1793 and 1794, I mean the period of Robespierre's rule, was called as reign of terror. Why? Because I told you he brought a severe policy of punishment and strict control over the administration, over the government of France, right? Then whom he punished we have learnt, and then what all the changes he brought in France. Equality bread he brought, addresses of the people, sir and madam, was changed into citoyen and citoyenne, right? About all these things we have learnt in the previous class, and even we learned that how he was guillotined in the month of July 1794. He too trial by court, found guilty, and very next day he too was guillotined. About all these things we learned. That's why his period, Robespierre's ruling period from 1793 and 1794, it was called as the period or the reign of terror in France. So after the end of Robespierre, what happened in France, right? After the end of Robespierre's rule, a directory was formed. A directory was formed in France. Directory rules we call. So, directory was formed in France. See, a fall of Jacobin's government. After the end of Jacobin's government, what happened? Wealthier middle class people, they seized the power. Middle class people, rich middle class people, they got power in France, which means they control the government of France. A new constitution was introduced in France, and the new constitution denied the right to vote to non-propertied sections of society in France. I mean, in the Robespierre's rule, all the people, irrespective of their property or richness, they had right to vote. But this was cancelled in France when a directory was formed, when a government was controlled by whom? By the richer people of the middle class. And even it provided, the new constitution provided for 2 elected legislative councils. What happens is 2 legislative councils were formed. According to the new constitution, 2 legislative councils were formed. 2 elected legislative councils were formed. How many? 2. And according to this, see, these then appointed a directory. All these 2 councils appointed a direct 2 elected councils, and the members of these 2 elected councils appointed a directory. Directory, it is an executive made up of 5 members. How many members were there in this? 5. In a directory, 5 members were there, and this directory was elected by the 2 elected councils according to the new constitution. And this was meant as a safeguard. This was meant as a safeguard arrangement in France. Why? Because see, during the time of 16th Louis or during the time of Robespierre, the power was concentrated in the hands of one person or a group of people. To avoid this, directory was formed in France. 5 members directory was formed in France to avoid the concentration of power in one person or in one man executive. And but see, here also there was a problem. Directories or directors also or often clashed with the legislative councils. I mean, they had misunderstandings. They had clashes with the councils or with the members of councils, or with the legislative councils. Directors had clashes. So that's why what happens is, directors, because of having clashes with the councils, directories were keep on removing. Directories were keep on changing. This paved the way for the rise of military dictator, and that military dictator was Napoleon Bonaparte. Because of the failure of Directory, as I told you that directory was formed by the two elected councils, but directory often clashed with the councils. Because of that, councils often keep on removing the directories. So because of that, this paved the way. This created a situation for the rise of a military dictator called Napoleon in France. Napoleon Bonaparte. So Napoleon Bonaparte emerged as a military dictator in France after the failure of directory rules in France. See, through all these changes in the form of government, the ideals of freedom, equality before the law, or even fraternity remained, inspiring the people, motivated even other continent people also, except out of Europe also. The ideals of France Revolution or the French Revolution, which are those ideals of the French Revolution? Freedom, independence, equality before the law, fraternity, I mean brotherhood. These were remained inspiring the people all over the world, motivated political movements in France as well as rest of Europe, even the various countries. India was also inspired by the ideals of French Revolution. So this is about the directory rules, France. So this is the end of third concept in French Revolution. Fourth one is, did women have a revolution? Did women have a revolution? I mean, women also made revolution or not in France? About that we will learn in the next class. Thank you. Jai Hind.